Hello students, hope you're all doing well during this pandemic time. Take care of your good health. This is Dr. M. Bhushanam, Associate Professor in Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru. Students, in today's session, we shall understand another topic under genetics, that is construction of pedigree charts for sex-linked inheritance traits, or in specific for the diseases of color blindness and hemophilia. The learning objectives of today's session is to understand the term pedigree chart and the symbols used to construct a pedigree, and to learn the pattern of X-linked recessive inheritance. So the contents of today's session is construction of pedigree charts for the X-linked recessive diseases such as color blindness and hemophilia. Students, in this slide, when we look at, it represents Mendel's cross of one of the trait related to pea plant, the height character of the plant. We have a tall plant represented here with homozygous condition capital T, crossed to a dwarf plant having recessive genotype in it, that is small t. And we know the expectation of the future generations through this cross of pea plant, related to the example of tallness and the dwarfness of the height of the plant. So we are sure that upon the cross, in F1 generation, we tend to get all tall plants, but of heterozygous condition. This is easier for us to express. But this kind of crossing for a particular character in any animal is very difficult. We cannot show the cross like this related to the characters of human beings, especially. So what happens here is that we need to find an alternative method where we can predict the trait condition in the past, present, and even in the future. So this is achieved through a study related to the genetics called as pedigree analysis. So what is pedigree analysis? Generally, the idea of disorders that are inherited is very common in the human society since long period of time. The heritability of certain of these characteristic features in families, especially related to the characters of diseases, will bring in a kind of fear in us. So, if a family has got the inheritance of a particular disease in the past history, the fear of having this disease in near future or at present can be easily analyzed through the study of pedigree. So that's the major advantage of today's topic that we are going to understand. So as we have discussed earlier, we can predict the results if a character of a pea plant is crossed. But this is impossible with the human beings. The study of family history about the inheritance of particular characters can be achieved through an alternative method which we call it as pedigree analysis. Now, what does this pedigree exactly means? It is a family tree which is drawn to observe the inheritance of a particular trait from generation to the generations. So, a particular character can be observed through the pattern of inheritance by drawing a family tree. This is what we call as pedigree. The trait that we consider for pedigree could be either normal or abnormal. Remember students, this pedigree family tree is drawn by using certain of the symbols. So, the analysis of pedigree refers to analysis of the traits in several generations of a particular family by using the pedigree charts. And this pedigree analysis has a definite observation of a particular trait present in a particular family over the period of generation, which is done through the family tree. In simple to say, pedigree chart is a genealogical table, chart or diagram representing the ancestral line of a particular character in the given family. It's a process of determining the exact mode of inheritance of a gene in a family is what we call as pedigree analysis. So, by this pedigree chart and pedigree analysis, we can determine the kind of genotype and phenotype of the past, present as well as future generations. Not only that, we can even analyze the nature of inheritance of this character, like whether it is sex-linked or autosomal, whether it is dominant or recessive, the probable ratio of that particular gene in the past, present and future generations. Students, here is a slide that depicts the different symbols that are used in the construction of a pedigree chart. Let us start from column 1 of the left side, then we shall move to column 2 of the right side. Column number 1, we find at the top a rectangular symbol which is colorless. This is called unaffected male. So how the unaffected males are represented in pedigree chart? It is by using a rectangular symbol which is colorless. If the same rectangle is shaded, we call it as affected male. And for females, we represent it with a circle without shading for a unaffected individual. And if the female is affected, they are represented as by using the symbol which is circular shaded. If it is a rhomboidal structure which is unshaded, it refers to sex unknown or sex unspecified, but the individual is normal. If the same rhombus symbol is represented with some number inside, let us say some 3, rhombus structure with number 3 in it, it indicates that and it is not shaded. So they are unaffected individuals of 3 numbers whose sex is not known. If we represent a rectangle with a number 5 in it, let us suppose, then it indicates that it is unshaded, so it is normal, it is rectangular, so it is male, and the number written inside is 5. It indicates that 5 male individuals, unaffected individuals thereof. Then down that we have one more symbol where a circle represented with a dot inside. It refers to carrier females related to allosomes. Students, remember the characters which gets transferred from parents to the offsprings can be through the genes of autosomes or of the allosomes. We have, for example, in human beings 23 pairs of chromosomes or 46 number of chromosomes, out of which 22 pairs are said to be autosomes because they have the genes which are responsible for the formation, representing the characters of the body characters, somatic characters. Whereas a last pair of chromosomes are called as sex chromosomes or allosomes. And these allosomes, especially of females, when we look at in human beings, they are called as homotypic chromosomes because they both look similar, XX chromosomes thereof. In case of males, it is heterogametic. It is because we have one X and one Y chromosome. So 2 sex chromosomes are different in case of males, having X and Y. In case of females, they are homotypic, so they have XX chromosomal complement. Now, certain of genes present on these X chromosomes called as sex-linked genes. I repeat, genes present on X chromosome are called as sex-linked genes or X-linked genes. These genes could be of alleles which are unaffected to the individuals, especially of the females. Since they are homotypic in nature, if a recessive genic allele is present, it may be harmful to the individual. So that condition will arise for the females when both the X chromosomes will carry recessive alleles in them. Okay, a recessive gene for otherwise. Whereas where you have two X chromosomes having one of X chromosome with dominant allele, the other one with the recessive allele. So recessive allele is affected allele. Dominant allele, it is normal. When both are present in the X chromosomes, such females are called as carrier females. So those individuals appears normal phenotypically, but genotypically they will be carrying the affected allele or the genic condition in them. This group of individuals can be called as carrier females. Then we shall move on to the right side column. We have symbols of, at the top, a circle indicating female, a rectangle or a square box indicating a male, and a rhomboidal structure indicating sex unknown. All the three individuals are unaffected individuals because they are not shaded. If all the three are shaded, as we see in the second row, we call it as affected individuals. Now, in the third row, we have a square box connected to the circle by means of horizontal line. So we know that the square box indicates a male, circular structure indicates, symbol indicates the female. Both are connected, it indicates that there occurs a mating process or a marriage is seen between these two individuals. In the next symbol, there are double lines connecting a male and a female. It indicates that it is a marriage between a male and female of the cousin relation, blood relation. So it is between the brothers and sisters the marriage is seen. So such kind of marriage is called as consanguineous marriage or consanguineous mating. Then in the next row we have symbol of square which is diagonally crossed with a lane and a circle diagonally crossed with a line. It indicates that these individuals are not alive, they are dead. So death of a male, death of a female. In the next row we will look at between the cross of a male and a female who are normal, we tend to find an affected male born. So from the mating line, if there arises a vertical line down, if there is descending a vertical line down that connects to another symbol, it indicates that it is the child which is born between these two, child which is born for these two parents. We have a male, we have a female which gives birth to a son who is affected here. So between two normal parents, when the mating occurs, they give birth to a son who is affected. The next symbol indicates that the child is affected female. So a daughter is born for them who is affected with the disease. The next symbol when we look at, between two normal parents, there arises two offspring. They give birth to two offsprings. One is of normal female, the other one is of normal male. So if it is a single child, one descending vertical line of the mating, from the mating line down, directly connecting to the symbol of a male or a female, could be a normal or affected. If two children are born for the same parents, again we give representing a horizontal line connected to two children. Okay, this is how the symbolization is done. For a parent giving birth to the normal children, one is of a normal daughter, the other one is normal son. The last symbol, when we look at 42 parents, they give birth to the affected children who are said to be a son and a daughter. So this is how the symbols are used in a pedigree chart. Students, remember, these are the major symbols with the help of which we will be constructing the pedigree chart for a given family history. So in your main exams, these symbols are important for 1-mark questions. They may ask you to give the symbol for a normal female. So unaffected female, a circle which is unshaded. Sex unknown, a rhombus shade of the symbol. If they are affected, you can shade it. If it is unaffected, you will have to leave it blank. Consanguineous marriage. Between a male and a female, we will have to write a connecting line of 2 numbers, 2 horizontal lines. Carrier female, a circle with a dot in it. So this is how we are supposed to represent the pedigree chart by using the pedigree symbols. Hope the concept is clear. Students, after we understanding the concept of pedigree definition, then pedigree symbols used, next we shall understand the types of pedigree. When we look at the pedigree types, we have majorly 5 different types of pedigree inheritance patterns. Majorly we have 2 types, autosomal and allosomal. Autosomal is again subdivided into 2 types, autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive. Allosomal is divided into 2 types, X-linked, Y-linked. The X-linked is further subdivided into X-linked dominant, X-linked recessive. So that way, when you look at the types of pedigree pattern of inheritance includes 5 types. The first type is autosomal dominant. Here when you look at the symbols, right towards the top of the left extreme, the first one, we have affected parents giving birth to a normal child. In autosomal dominant, both the parents are affected. The affected individuals have to give birth to the affected children. But here what happens is that we call the condition as autosomal dominant when 2 affected parents give birth to normal individuals, normal offsprings. Here in this case, female is normal because it is not shaded. We call it as autosomal dominant. So how would you identify a type of pedigree inheritance as autosomal dominant? It is by using the method where 2 affected parents will give birth to a normal child. In autosomal recessive, it is vice versa. two normal parents will give birth to the affected individual. So, here in this case female is affected, whereas rest are all normal. So, this condition is called autosomal recessive. This is about autosomal types. Coming to allosomal types, in X-linked dominant, when we look at the condition here is that if the father is affected, all the daughters will get affected. Down in the middle is marked as X-linked dominant. See, the first parent is a normal male crossed to an affected female. They give birth to two children. The daughter is normal, the son is affected. The affected son is getting married to another female. They give birth to the generation at down, where all the females are affected. You can see all the three circles are shaded. So, affected in generation 2, students remember the first parents where a normal male and affected female is there, that is first generation. The next one is second generation where the males are affected. When an affected male give birth to the daughters in X-linked dominant, all daughters will be affected. And the inheritance of the disease will never be from father to the son. So, inheritance is not from father to the son in case of autosomal dominant. So, this is about the importance of the condition of sex linked or X-linked dominant. The next step is X-linked recessive. I mean to say the genes present here are linked to X chromosomes. What's the condition here? Males are more affected than the females in this pattern of inheritance. In first generation, when you look at in X-linked recessive condition of chart, first generation males are affected, male is affected, the father is affected. In the last, that is third generation here, all males are affected. So, males are getting affected more in this pattern of inheritance. Now, this X-linked recessive pattern of inheritance is very important, because the example that we are going to study in today's session or whatever is prescribed in your syllabus is related to this pattern of inheritance as what you find. There is a specific pattern of inheritance in X-linked recessive condition, which we call it as criss-cross inheritance. I repeat, in X-linked recessive inheritance, where the affected gene is in recessive form present on X chromosome, we find males are affected more. Number 2, this inheritance pattern, when we look at it, is very specific, which we call it as criss-cross inheritance. Students, now we shall understand what is this criss-cross inheritance is. In the criss-cross inheritance or X-linked recessive inheritance, in the first generation, the father gets affected. That's what the blue shaded affected males are is shown here in first generation. And this males will give birth to the females, where the female is said to carry the gene of affected in them, but they will not express that character because of homotypic condition. I repeat, recessive gene of X-linked is present in the grandfather, that is in first generation. They give when a grandfather marries to a grandmother, they have a mother, a daughter. This daughter born for these parents will carry the gene in them, but they look normal. Why they look normal? It is because mother is normal here. Are you able to understand? Her mother is normal. So when this daughter carries the recessive gene in them, we call it as carrier female. What do we call the condition as? Carrier female. When a carrier female gets married to a normal male, they tend to have the passage of this gene into their sons. I repeat, grandfather will have the character, affected character. It will be passed to the daughter, but daughter will be carrier female normal. From this daughter, it will be passed on to their grandson. Grandson is affected. So carrier female will pass that character to their to her sons. So what is the pattern? Grandfather will have the character of affected, gets transmitted into the female, but she is a carrier, normal. From her, it will be passed on to her sons. So that is the grandsons. From grandfather, the character gets into the grandson through the carrier mother, carrier daughter otherwise. This pattern we call it as criss-cross inheritance. Students, remember, it is also referred as X-linked recessive inheritance. So this is what is important, you will have to remember here. Here the criss-cross inheritance pattern is not shown in the pedigree, but the pattern is showing that males are more affected. Okay. In the Y-linked inheritance, only males of all the generations will be affected. Okay, all males will be shaded. Okay, with the representation of a box shaded. So all males are affected here. It is called Y-linked inheritance. So these are the types of patterns of pedigree inheritance. These are the types of pedigree indicating the pattern of inheritance, of which X-linked recessive inheritance is important for you. So we have understood that in autosomal dominant, affected parents will give birth to the normal individuals generally. So what we have shaded in the red a bullet point here, red font of the bullet. Two affected parents can produce the unaffected child. So this is the condition of autosomal dominant. In autosomal recessive, two unaffected parents can produce the affected offspring. Again, red font bullet point here. In X-linked dominant, generally the characters are passed from the affected father to the daughters. All daughters will be affected. This is what is important ultimately for us, X-linked recessive inheritance. Let us concentrate on this again. What is the condition? Males are relatively more affected than the females in this pattern. Only affected mother can transfer the disease to the male individuals. Okay, who is said to be a carrier female here. The disease transmission is from grandfather to the grandson, not from father to son. So what do you call this pattern of inheritance as? Criss-cross inheritance, where grandfather will carry the genes of affected to his daughter called carrier mother. From this carrier mother, the genes will be passed on to the grandson. So we call the condition as crisscross inheritance. So in Y-linked inheritance, all males are affected predominantly. Now, here comes the pedigree charts for color blindness, the actual examples that we need to understand. Color blindness is a condition where the affected individuals will not be able to differentiate between the red and green color. So they are blind for the red and green color. When you look at a picture above, the first slight part is normal vision, but for the color blind individuals, the same portrait of the pig may be seen as colorless form, as what you see down. Here is the pedigree chart pattern. For a man with color blind who marries to a normal woman. First generation, the Roman number that is given towards extreme left represents the generation. In first generation, affected male, color blind male marries to a normal woman. So they are represented with number 1 and 2. So that indicates the individual. When I say first hyphen number 2, it indicates that in the first generation, the second individual, that is female here, normal female. When they have marriage or mating, they tend to have 4 children, 2 sons, 2 daughters. 2 sons are normal because they are not shaded. When the affected males marries a normal women, undoubtedly their daughters are all said to be carriers. So she will carry the genes from their father, affected gene they carry. So when you find a circle with a dot inside, it indicates autosomal carriership. In third generation, normal son is married to an affected female. In second generation, showing in third generation a carrier female with an affected male. Whereas a carrier in the second generation, number 5, daughter who is a carrier who is married to a normal man, unaffected man, represented as 6. So marriage between 5 and 6 of second generation. It forms in third generation children of 3, 4, 5 and 6 numbered here. So when a marriage happens between a carrier female and a normal male, as what you find in second generation, between 5 and 6 individuals, they tend to have 4 children. What's the condition there? They have both the daughters who are normal. Of the 2 daughters, one is said to be normal, whereas the other is also said to be normal, but she is a carrier because she carries the affected gene in them. So to look at, both the daughters are said to be 100% normal. So genotypically 50% is normal, 50% is normal but carrier female. But what about the sons? Sons, 50% of the sons are normal, 50% of the sons are affected. So when you look at the pattern, in first generation, grandfather is affected. In second generation, females carry the gene as carrier mothers. And in third generation, again grandsons are getting affected. So passage of a transmission of the gene of X-linked recessive from the grandparent to the grandson through the carrier female is called crisscross inheritance. Okay, so this is very specific for X-linked recessive inheritance. A good example is color blindness. Now, possibility number 2. Vice versa. Now, normal man is getting married to a colorblind woman. Okay, here also we find carrier females. Okay, but since the female is affected, her sons will also be affected. No, undoubtedly, because the sons will have one X chromosome, one Y chromosome. Y chromosome is definitely from their father, whereas X chromosome is from their mother. Since mother is affected, for X-linked recessive inheritance, her sons will be affected. Students, this is a condition as what you find in generation 2 between 5 and 6 individuals. Same is generation 1 in this example. Okay. So, this is how the pattern of inheritance occurs. The second example is also very much similar to that of the color blindness, which we call as hemophilia. Condition wherein the affected individuals who will have the X-linked recessive gene in them will tend to or fail to have the thromboplastin protein in their blood system. So, clotting is lost. So, if there is a cut in their body system, the oozing of blood, moving out of the blood, oozing of the blood occurs continuously because the clotting factors are absent in them. This condition we call as hemophilia. It is also called as Royal's disease because it is seen in Queen Victoria's family. Okay. So, what is the condition here? Condition A is a man with hemophilia marries to a normal woman. What is the condition? Crisscross inheritance. A normal man marries to a carrier woman. Again, males are affected here because of the affected women. So, same crisscross pattern of inheritance is seen if you closely observe this particular slide. So, with this we are completing the pedigree chart that shows the pattern of inheritance related to X-linked recessive trait, especially of color blindness and hemophilia diseases. So, to have the recap of the today's session, color blindness is an example of sex-linked recessive character. Those who suffer from red-green color blindness cannot distinguish between red and green color. Similarly, hemophilia is also called as breeder's disease, which is also an example of X-linked recessive trait. So, these two are studied by using pedigree. What is pedigree? It is a genealogical table, a chart, a diagram to represent the ancestral line of individual or of a family in the given period of time. Pedigree analysis is a process of determining the exact mode or pattern of inheritance of a gene in the given family. So, the outcome of today's session is, students, you have learned and understood the concept of pedigree chart, symbols used to construct pedigree, and also the pattern of X-linked recessive inheritance related to color blindness and hemophilia in man. So, after we understanding the concept, let us now try to answer the multiple choice questions. Question 1. Analysis of traits in several generations of a family. What do you call this condition as? Point B, pedigree analysis. The symbol that is used for affected male or infected male. Males are represented with a square box, but it should be shaded. Answer is A. The symbol which is used for allosomal carrier female. Autosomal carriers are also there, which includes both males and females, where the symbol is half shaded. But if you have a circle which is provided with a dot inside, we call it as allosomal carrier female. So, answer is D. Symbol used for sex unspecified is rhomboidal symbol. So, answer is C here. Now, what are the possibilities when a normal man marries a carrier female for a color blindness condition? So, a woman here is a carrier, man is normal. What's the condition? It is D. 50% of the sons are affected. Because mother is carrier. Okay, so answer is D. Well, students, with this we have completed the concept. The references that we have used here is Cell Biology, Genetics, Molecular Biology, Evolutionary Ecology by P.S. Verma and Agarwal, Zoology for degree students by Agarwal, Histology and Genetics by Mohan P. Arora, then Cytology, Genetics and Molecular Genetics by B. N. Pandey, Introductory Zoology Volume 5 by C. M. Vimala, a textbook of zoology by Dr. Ramesh. In addition to that, these books, we also referred the web references of Wikipedia and Britannica.com. Thank you all students.